DDG episode 210. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
Dave, we delayed the podcast a day because Xbox was going to do some things, and they did some things, but just nothing earth-shattering. But we're here, and we're covering it timely because you might not be here next week, so we had to talk about it.
I won't be here next week unless you tell me.
Yes, you won't be.
Unless you tell me to pack my microphone.
Yep, no, you won't be here next week. So we had to make sure we covered this Xbox thing.
So, all right. So we are obviously Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts normally every Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time. But this episode we're recording on Thursday night because of Microsoft's podcast, Xbox podcast. So this will be on Friday morning. But typically 90 or 51 out of 52 times, this podcast, probably 48 out of 49 times actually, but this podcast releases at 6 a.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. You can watch us live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming. You can also watch us on YouTube at the same time, youtube.com/Digital Days Gaming. And we are also on pretty much every podcast platform. So if you're able to leave us a review, that's great. If you can rate some words or review individual episodes, whether it's Spotify, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, whatever, any way you can give us reviews and help to grow the show through algorithms, that's helpful. You can follow on Twitch for free. You can subscribe on YouTube for free. You can subscribe to us on Twitch because we're an affiliate. You can link your Amazon account and your Twitch account and get Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming gives you a free sub. Or you can just spend like the $5 or $6 that it costs to sub to us. If you use the Prime Gaming sub, it does not auto-renew, so please consider checking that every month, even if we're not live. And with that, I'm going to send it over to Michael for the news.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this last week. We're probably going to get a lot of business reports and updates because it's that time of year where companies are reporting that. And PlayStation had their financial stuff, and there's some important information in here. One of the big things is PS5 has now sold 54 million units, 54.7 to be exact. And it fell short of their target for last year, which made the stock price kind of go real bad. But that's typical for stock prices to just fall randomly after a financial call, and then it'll bounce back in like a couple days. So no reason to panic there if you're a PlayStation fan, because some people blow that stuff out of proportion. But the big takeaways from this is they said don't expect any major franchises, established franchises, to have new entries or sequels before April 2025 at the earliest. A lot of people kind of took this in many different directions. I think me and Dave kind of expected something like this. Doesn't mean PlayStation's not releasing anything first party. It's just like, don't expect established IPs to release stuff. We will get some of those. Dave's already making faces. We will get one of those like new franchise games as a service before then. But they're basically saying, don't expect The Last of Us, don't expect an Uncharted, don't expect a God of War, don't expect a Spider-Man.
Does Wolverine fall into that spectrum?
But April 2025.
Because we were kind of predicting holiday this year at the earliest.
No, I don't think we were. I think we were talking that it could slip into that. We'd have to go back, but I'm pretty sure we were kind of on the far end of where that goes.
But it also means that we're not getting a Miles Morales-like thing for Spider-Man or anything like that. You know, essentially.
Yeah, unless they kind of turn around and say like, well, that's technically not a full thing.
Yeah.
But I would imagine they wouldn't say this because then that would undercut one of those expansions of like, oh, this isn't a full thing.
Right.
So that is like the major thing. So I don't know, Dave, if you want to talk about this a little bit more, but
I'm kind of disappointed in this. I don't think they should have said this publicly. I've talked about that a lot. Like why advertise negativeness? I don't like, and so them kind of coming out and saying this, like it's going to do two things. It's, to your point, like you mentioned earlier, it's going to kind of either keep that stock lower, or it's going to cause problems for it to raise. And I also think it's going to slow down console sales, just because there's not a reason to buy the console. There's a bigger thing that I'm discovering this week as I've done some reading and listening to stuff, and I already knew this, but there's statistical data to support it. And we'll get into it with the Xbox conversation a little bit. But whether you like it or not like it, the console market is dissolving. It's not dissolving, but it's declining.
It's been declining technically for like 10 years
since the PS2.
Yeah.
So like this is, and you know, like your next bullet point is that PlayStation wants to be more aggressive. PlayStation also expects that PS5 sales have peaked.
Which reasonable 4 or 5 years in.
Yep. and they will make up for that through software and services. What software?
Yeah, it definitely is one of those things where they mean services, but they're talking about the grand life of the
obviously,
PS5.
yep.
So.
And then PlayStation also wants to be more aggressive on the PC market and see that as an opportunity for growth. Just go look at Helldivers.
Yeah,
Helldivers
no,
2.
Helldivers was like the biggest thing. Like,
but it's the biggest thing on Steam.
yes,
And I don't really understand why PlayStation's not screaming from the mountaintop. Look what we did.
yeah, and it seems like they might end up pivoting that eventually.
Yeah.
To where they're looking at that of just like shit. Like, what if Helldivers was truly first party? Because they're just publishing it; it's second party, and they have to look at their games as a service game. Because remember that was like a big thing with like their games as a service stuff. Other than Jim Ryan, there was no guarantee that stuff would be multi-platform. I'm sure they're looking at Helldivers like, no, it needs to 100% be multi-platform.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll tie some of these two stories together as we talk through this. But I mean, I don't understand. Like, Sony's publishing this game on PC also, and I don't understand why they're not taking more clout with it, because, you know, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but like a concurrent player list of this on Steam beat Counter-Strike.
Yeah, no, it is the most popular PlayStation published PC game.
So 1 for 4. Okay.
No, but there's significantly
I know.
amount more, but in terms of just like sales wise on Steam, it has already beaten those games,
right?
Which is like kind of
crazy.
It's
been out for like 2 weeks, 10 days.
Yeah. And we're talking about a game like the first one didn't set the world on fire.
Nope.
People liked the first one, but this one it's really good from what I can tell, and it's just.
And that's with problems. Like, it has its problems. Yeah. It has server problems. It has connectivity problems. But anyway, this is just kind of proving that, you know, and again, we can tie it into this a little bit. Like, this is proving that these companies need more than just their one box. You know, like they need more. Like, this is now set the bar for PlayStation. Like, any type of service style game has to be on PC and PS day one. Has to. Because otherwise you don't have a chance. So Concord, whatever, the Fair Game, you know, all those next couple of games, like, they have to be on they have to be on PC. They have to. Yeah,
there can't be any doubt about that now. Under the Jim Ryan leadership, there was some doubt of like, oh, you know, maybe it'll eventually come, but
54 million consoles. Like, what's a good attach rate for Fairpoint?
Especially, like, we don't know what it's going to cost or anything like that. So,
but I'm just saying, a good attach rate, 10%. That's a phenomenal attach rate, right?
But if you look at 10%, it's 5 million.
Right, but I'm just saying, in terms of an attach rate, that's phenomenal. Like, you know, but it's not
for
a lot
new
of,
IP. Yeah,
right. It's not a lot of numbers. That's not going to support it. That's not going to hold a service game up.
Yeah, so. And that's the key. Like, what PlayStation's going to have to do if they want to have services kind of compensate. Because this happens with everything. This happened, you know, 5 years into a console, hardware is going to peak, and you need to find other ways to make money. And this is the first time PlayStation can have the opportunity of like, oh, we can make money with like games as a service, as opposed to just making money off of like, we released God of War 3 at the end of the PS3 cycle, and that sold a shit ton of money or copies. So it's PlayStation's getting that opportunity to really get a lot out of this tail half of this hardware, and probably extend it a couple years beyond like what we're used to, you know, because we're used to like 8 years in, like, new console comes out and then we move on. But this is one of those ones where it could really Johnny's just like sleepy boy. It could really like change how they do things, especially now if you look at the first thing in this, you know, in terms of them saying like, hey, major franchises, we're not going to have anything for like at least a year and a half at the earliest. So there's a chance we go 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, like, it's February 15th. I got that right. Okay, it's February 15th. What are, like, and I mean this, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, because people get on my case about this all the time. What are you going to turn your PlayStation 5 on for in the next 6 months, Michael?
For me?
Yeah.
No idea.
Right.
Honestly.
And for me, it's going to be Final Shape in June.
Yeah.
Like, and, well, you know what? I'm sorry. I take that back. Final Shape's going to be on my PC. So,
yeah.
like, that's the problem that I have right now. The counter to it is we just saw Microsoft's January developer event that they at least showed 4 or 5 reasons to turn your Xbox on. Like,
Yeah.
And I get it. Maybe that's the only console you own, so you're going to turn it on for Helldivers. You're going to turn it on for Skull and Bones. You're going to turn it on for MLB The Show. You're going to turn it on for Final Shape. Like, those are things that, are just stuff I'm just rattling off the top of my head. I'm sure there's other cool stuff coming out. But, you've touted yourself, and you've done this to yourself as Sony, as we are a third-person action-adventure exclusive machine, right? Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is it?
No, and that's like the concern. I do think it is kind of funny though. Is PlayStation kind of seems like they're stuck in a cycle where the second half of the console's life is where a ton of like their big hits are going to be, and then it kind of dries up the first half of the next gen.
Yeah.
Because everyone's in recovery, so we might hit a point where
we get a Killzone Shadowfall because Uncharted 3 just came out on the PS3.
Yeah. Yeah,
and Last of Us came out on the PS3.
And then it just kind of sets them behind when they start a new franchise. And then again, they'll get their footing year 2, year 3, like they did with the PS5, where we got Ratchet Clank, we got Spider-Man, we got God of War, and it's just funny how that ends up working out, where it's just like this like cycle.
What is Sucker Punch doing, and how long is it taking?
Sucker Punch will probably release one game on the PS5, and
I think Ghost 2 is coming, but I don't.
No, I think it is, but if you think about the development
cycle,
it'll
be on PS5. It'll be.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
They'll have one PS5 game.
Well, because Ghost of Tsushima is PS4, right?
Yeah, they did a
PS5
director's
upgrade.
cut.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we know that Naughty Dog lost 3 or 4 or 5 years of stuff. Poof, gone with the factions. Yeah.
Which means they'll probably end up with the last major release on the PS5, and then we might go.
Which I have a feeling
years.
At this point in time, out of desperation, is going to be Uncharted 5.
It's going to be Last of Us 3. They've been hinting way too hard for it not to be Last of Us, and they probably have a ton of assets from that fucking.
Yeah. And then hopefully Ben's doing Uncharted 5 then. At this point in time.
Yeah, I would imagine you wouldn't let Ben sit too long unless God forbid they shutter them.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you'd imagine Ben has to have some major franchise that they're working on.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a chance that Naughty Dog is going to hit a point where the last major PS5 game is going to be The Last of Us, and then they're going to disappear for 5 years of the PS6 before we get something else.
Based on what we've been talking about, Concord from Firewalk was supposed to be a competitive style service game, I believe.
But we've only seen
right. But if it comes if it comes this year, it's coming to PC, right?
Yeah, if it's actual games as a service,
right? But it's coming to PC then, right?
Yeah.
If whether it's games as a service or a comp shooter, like an esports shooter, it's coming to PC.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Right now, that's just kind of where I'm at with what's going on with PlayStation. I love it. I enjoy playing it. Spider-Man 2 was phenomenal. God of War Ragnarok, I got a little dry, but it looked cool.
But PlayStation at that point, they're going the same route Xbox is going, where they don't give a fuck where you play it, because they made it, they published it, they're going to get your money either way. So they could care less if someone like you or me are I'm going to do it on PC. And it's going to be a matter of the 54 million people that are bought into the PS5 now. Is Concord or Fair Games worth it for those people to return? Yeah. Because getting your money on PC doesn't really bother them.
Well, and I don't want to tie into this, but Spencer said it 2 times on his little 20-minute podcasting today, and it started clicking with me a little bit more. So, and I just took it for granted, but if I buy something on Xbox or the Xbox Store on Windows, I can play it on my console. If I buy it on my console, I can play it on my Xbox account on my.
That's not true over everything, but
if you buy it on the Microsoft Xbox Store,
if it's first party, yes.
Right. Okay. So, but then I realized if it's published by Microsoft.
Yes.
Okay. So Helldivers is published by Microsoft. I'm sorry, it's published by Sony. I had to, when I bought it on PC, I had to sign in with my PSN account, even though it didn't load my PSN friend list. So I had to link it with my PSN account. Fine. It's published by Sony. Why can't I just download it on PlayStation then?
Because that's something that PlayStation will probably do eventually when enough people complain about it.
Right. I just find it. I had that realization today listening to Spencer talk, and he's kind
And
of saying.
I'm not too sure if all Xbox even published games do that thing that you're talking about. If it's on Game Pass, yes, but if
It has
it's
to be available on
purchased,
Game Pass console. So I
yeah,
guess the question is, we'd have to find a game. Like, I guess the main thing that you could, if you don't subscribe to Game Pass and you bought Starfield, like, how do you?
you'd have to buy it twice. You'd have to buy it twice.
You think? I mean, if you buy it on the
Yes.
Xbox Store on the PC though, if you buy it on
Yes.
Windows,
Yes, you have to buy it twice.
because you
I
can buy it
believe
on
so.
Steam,
Yes.
that's different than the Xbox Store.
No, I know.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you're only buying a license for it on PC.
Okay.
We could test it with a cheap game if we want. But I'm pretty sure that's not universal.
Because I know, like, at least through Game Pass, like the cross progression.
Yeah. Game
just
Pass
worked
is its own
perfectly,
thing. Yeah, that works fine.
Like
but
I
in
was able
terms
to do
of-
like Nobody Saves the World on the console, and then jumped onto the PC, and I was just picked up right where I left off.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure a good chunk of the games, if you buy them on a Microsoft Store, that does not entitle you to an Xbox console version of that game.
Okay.
It's something that sounded like they were hinting could be the future. Was it Matthew Booty went on like his a little thing of just like, well, I mean, we'll just talk about the Xbox stuff now because I think the PlayStation stuff it's disappointing but not surprising.
Right.
I also think that means
they're in the same position that Microsoft was 18 to 24 months ago, where we're like, where are the damn games? Like, release the games. And we criticized Microsoft for that while Sony was releasing games. And now, not that it's like the pendulum is moving, or we're on the other side of the fence. And on paper, it looks like Microsoft is ready to release their games this year, and PlayStation isn't. So
they just kind of moved, and it's one of those things where I wonder if PlayStation's gonna, like, the current person in charge of PlayStation, I hope will look back and be like, I always point out 2018. Like 2018 was the year that there was like 5 or 6 first-party games came out in one year, and it just felt like whoever was in charge at the time, I think it was Sean Layden or Jim Ryan at that point, they were very short-sighted with those moves because they could have spread things out just a little bit further and probably got some more sales from some of those games, and also maybe were able to push some games back so you wouldn't have dry spells like this. And it's something I think PlayStation needs to look at doing. I mean, it's something that Xbox is kind of almost falling into the same trap, where they have like 4 or 5 games this year that they're going to release. They do need that for Game Pass, but it's one of those things where it could backfire, and then in 2-3 years they're back in that cycle of like, where the fuck are the Xbox games?
Well, I think I agree with you in that standpoint, but I think we're kind of getting to the point where Microsoft is accepting and probably, quote unquote, using their acquisitions to make their big games, and then they're using their own air quoted studios that have been doing stuff for them for multiple years to make these small. Like, not that Avowed's going to be small, but I don't think Avowed's going to be an 80-hour RPG. I think it might be a 20 or 25 hour, and I think we might see some of that. Like, we're gonna, I don't think this Indiana Jones game is gonna be a 30-hour endeavor. Like, I think it's gonna be a 12 to 15-hour game, and I think we're gonna see that cadence, hopefully, of a quote unquote marquee title, like we've been talking about, every 90 to 120 days. And that's kind of the cadence they're trying to hit.
Yeah, which is a more reasonable expectation when you have 25 studios under your umbrella.
But I mean, the alternative is, do we want to wait 5.5 years or 6 years for Naughty Dog's next game?
No, and then that's the thing that kind of happened with PlayStation, is where they got too many studios lined up on that same pattern because they went crazy for like a year of releasing titles.
Yeah.
To where, like Bend and Naughty Dog are on like a really long stretch, and then you add Ghost's Sucker Punch. All those 3 studios are both on the same cycle where they go 4 or 5 years without a game, and then around the same time they're going to release games, and that's not healthy for the longevity of like those studios and like the release cycle. Xbox is in kind of a different boat because they're trying to get you to subscribe to a thing, but if they release like 6 or 7 games in one time or in 1 year, then you technically only need a subscription for a year. You can peace out for a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to pick on Ben, but April will be 5 years since Days Gone came out.
Yeah, but there's
like, we understand that there's been some upheaval in the studio, and like we've heard about that, but I'm just saying, like, it's 5 years and we don't know what they're working on.
Yeah, and it's not even Ben's fault, because it sounds like they had games that they were working on
Mhm.
and were developing, and then the the Jim Ryan effect kind of messed them up. Uh, and also like PlayStation's in a weird spot because I feel like you probably have like three bosses there. Like
Yeah.
we know who's in charge of Xbox
Right.
or Microsoft Gaming. It's Phil Spencer. For the most part, was at the top. Now it's kind of like a two-headed thing with Sarah Bond and Matthew Booty. But like, if for PlayStation, it sounded like you had like good cop, bad cop with
Mhm.
Jim Ryan, Herman Holst, and then you had like the cool uncle with Shu.
Yeah.
And you might have been getting different words from depending on who you're talking to. And at least Xbox, it's just like, yeah, whatever Phil Spencer says goes.
Yeah.
We don't know.
And we're almost at 4.5 years since Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, again, they're all on the same cycle.
Yeah.
We're about 4.5 years since The Last of Us
Mhm.
Part 2. So like they're all on the same cycle, which is very dangerous for a company to end up in a situation like that. It means 2026 might be a phenomenal year for PlayStation.
Right.
But
Then
that's also 2 years
27
away.
and 8 and 9 are going to be bland. So
Yeah. But let's move on to the Xbox One since we've already talked a little bit
Yeah.
about it. So Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, Matthew Booty did a 22 minute podcast discussing the future of Xbox. Let's just talk about the format. This felt like the most unpodcasty thing. It was so rehearsed.
yeah.
And I
it
was
was on
kind
an
of expecting
Xbox.
it to
It
be
was on an
live.
Xbox stage. It was on
Pre-recorded.
YouTube. It was on YouTube, pre-recorded. Yeah, it definitely. I mean, I don't know who the host was. Like, I don't know. I haven't heard her other
I
content.
think it was future a former IGN person now that just works.
Okay, I
at
thought she did a
Xbox.
great job of asking questions the right way. Maybe it was
Mhm.
pre-recorded. Maybe it wasn't. I mean, it obviously was pre-recorded. I don't know
It was
how much.
fully rehearsed.
Yeah. But I think that even like she asked the questions that people wanted her to ask. It's not whether whether Phil allowed it. Obviously Phil had to allow it. And how they answered it. Maybe. But I think that I feel like, again, scripted or not scripted, I thought that she did a really good job.
Oh yeah, did a good job. My only notes for the three panelists is Phil Spencer speaks the most natural
Yeah.
of the three. Sarah Bond felt a little too rehearsed in terms of hitting marketing points.
Yeah.
And then when it came to it is Matthew Booty, right?
Yeah.
I know the last name,
Matt
but the
Booty.
first name,
Yeah.
Matt Booty.
Yeah.
He just kind of felt like he wasn't bringing anything to the table other than to say like, yeah, what Sarah said and yeah, what
Yeah.
Phil said. But a little less rehearsed than them. But it definitely felt unnatural, and you can tell this was only made as a response to all of the rumors.
I don't know
and
if I
stuff.
agree with that, because Phil kind of started with where it sounds like this was being planned and then something forced a change.
It was
So there was
no,
some type of
planned,
plan. Yeah.
but what we ended up getting was
Yeah.
basically a response. Like
I think
there
he
might have been a
wanted to
proper
do this
plan.
after the announcements.
Yes,
Like,
and
I think that this was probably, if I had to guess, this is probably 2 to 3 weeks early.
yeah, because the current rumor is there was a lot of reports that Nintendo Direct was supposed to take place today.
Mm-hmm.
But because they had to push this up, Nintendo was like, we're just going to push our stuff back because Nintendo's like, we're
Yeah.
not sharing the spotlight with anybody. And also some of the things that Phil Spencer couldn't announce today kind of fit into something that would be in a Nintendo Direct
Yeah.
announcement.
So the next bullet point you have is that Xbox will publish 4 games on other consoles, but will not announce those updates to protect the studio's reveals and partnerships. So I don't need to protect them, and this is all the rumors. So this is what
Yeah.
this is what I'm reading, and this is what I believe.
Yeah, I put it in there. It's the
Okay.
2 lines after that.
Yeah.
Tom Warren's report.
Sea of
seems to be the
Thieves,
most
Grounded, Pentiment, and Hi-Fi Rush. Okay.
Yes.
So this is where I'm probably going to get a little controversial, as normal. This is more about the Switch than it is the PS5.
100%. I it felt like these are all games that could run on the Switch.
All 4 of these games should run on the Switch phenomenally.
Yeah.
The Switch, I don't even know why I'm hesitating to say this, and then you're gonna look at me like the Switch has a larger install base than the PS5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Significantly,
Yeah.
because it's been out longer.
Right. So so 2 of these games are service games, Sea of Thieves and Grounded, and Pentiment came to critically acclaimed. Is even in in some Game of the Year conversation and in your top 5,
Yeah.
I believe.
It was in my bottom top 10, but yeah.
Top 10, and then Hi-Fi Rush to me just screams Switch all over it. So,
Yeah.
they make sense if these are the games that they're going to be. And the fact that it's not going to be Indiana Jones and it's not going to be Starfield.
Which they outright said. Like, I like that the person that was doing the questions interviewer was like, what about Starfield? What about Indiana Jones? And Phil Spencer was like, nope, those aren't part of it. And then also reaffirmed multiple times, this is not indicative of Xbox's future plan. This is what we're doing for these 4 games, and other games don't necessarily have to follow the multi-platform route if they don't make sense. Because they basically said they wanted to focus on, for the first 4 games, smaller titles and titles that are games as a services that could use or could benefit from having an expanded player base. And the 2 games they picked are 2 good games to go with.
So in our chat, Josh Kreese is saying maybe for smaller games, Ori and the Blind Forest went to Switch. Grounded and Sea of Thieves are 2 multiplayer focused for the Switch. Minecraft runs totally fine on the Switch. You link your Microsoft account and it works, and you can see your Microsoft friends. I expect this to be the same.
And also,
and you can play them solo.
Yeah, and those aren't really visually taxing games. And Sea of Thieves benefits from that cartoony art style, can kind of mask some lower resolution. Like, assets. Grounded could be the one that's kind of tricky, but there's probably ways you can work around.
They'll just reduce the texture pack.
Yeah, and just like density in terms of like what you see.
But I think that the little bit that I've seen, and I recently had a bunch of I had to attend a funeral. There was a lot of kids under the age of 10 there. They all had Switches. They were playing a lot of Minecraft, and connecting them locally was easy. I was helping with that, and then the little bit that Owen has played with his cousins on Minecraft on the Switch and playing with somebody on their phone, like, it just works, and it works well. And I think it's all handled on Microsoft's end, not on Nintendo's online end, which Nintendo's online infrastructure is broken. So.
Mm-hmm. Which is, why they, you sign into your Xbox Live.
I think about communication and voice chat. Have you been online?
No, well, specifically Nintendo's got like the worst voice chat stuff.
Yep.
But that's going to be one of those ones where they're going to push Discord, on your phone. Just kind of like Nintendo pushes voice chat to your phone too. Yep. So it's not going to be that crazy. Inconvenient, yes, but like I would imagine they want these games on PlayStation, but it's one of those things where they also wanted to make sure they run on Nintendo. Right. As like almost like a backup plan of like, if this don't take off on PlayStation, there's a chance it could take off on the Switch.
Yep.
Other things that they talk about is, Phil Spencer in an interview with The Verge following up says he doesn't expect Sony or Nintendo to return to favor by going multi-platform with games, and this isn't like Xbox using this as a bargaining chip, which he wanted to make clear. Like, it isn't Xbox trying to like force PlayStation or Nintendo to be like, oh shit, we should return to favor. This is him trying to increase the player base for his games as a service games that he wants to put on the platform, and also some of those smaller indie titles go on that.
And this is him admitting that Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded, they feel have reached their maximum player capacity on Xbox. With potential for small other bumps in growth, but the major growth is going to come from other platforms like this. He's looking, like he's the board is asking him, how do we grow our player engagement? Like, how, because again, Microsoft is a software subscription. I don't know. I can't think of the word, like how many clicks they're going to get, kind of system, company, corporation. And so they're challenging him to do this. And I don't know if I classify Starfield as a service game.
It's not. It's a single player game.
I don't classify Indiana Jones as a service game.
But also those games are also taxing on a studio to port to another console. So therefore it's one of those scenes where, is the juice worth the squeeze on some of those, of just like, okay, again, this is us talking out of our ass in terms of we don't know how development works. It's just like, okay, in the time it would take us to get Starfield on PlayStation up and running with as little bugs as possible, how many Pentiments, Hi-Fi Rushes, Grounded, Sea of Thieves could we release in that time with the same amount of like people power, human power behind it. And does it financially make sense? Like, how many more sales are we going to get out of Starfield, out of PlayStation? But how many sales could we get from a very diverse list of games?
Yeah, if they got 5% of the Switch install base to buy Pentiment.
Yeah. Or not even Pentiment, just 5% of any combination of those games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, that's humongous. It's, and then they reiterated, they put to bed some of the stuff that has been out there. Like, they're going to continue to make hardware, and the next generation will be a huge technical advancement, yada, 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 yeah. Okay, sure. And hardware announcement could happen as soon as this holiday. Okay, yeah, if we're led to believe, they probably will have some other form of a SKU out by this holiday. Another form of a series, like, I don't know, a 2 terabyte Series X. I don't know. They already did a 1 terabyte S. So I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I don't think we're going to see a X Pro. I don't really know if these things can go any higher. I mean, they can.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
This also seems like a good time for Xbox to throw this stuff on there if the rumors are to be true that Nintendo will release a new platform within the next like year or so.
Right.
And then there's your hardware bump. And also that could be why Phil Spencer was just like, hey, I don't want to ruin announcements with partnerships. There's a chance Nintendo Direct happens next week and they only announce Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment. And then they're like, oh, we're the other 2 games. And then later this year we get the Switch 2 announcement and they're like, hey, Sea of Thieves grounded day 1 on the new Switch.
Yep.
Or the new Nintendo platform.
Yeah, so like it's also super interesting. Some of the stuff that I took away from it that I thought was very interesting, and I feel like they repeated it. Booty repeated it a couple times. All of their Microsoft Studio games will be on Game Pass day 1. Game Pass will always be on Xbox and will always and only be on Xbox. Like he said that. So the rumors of them trying to put Game Pass on PS5 or to put Game Pass on Switch.
It's him being realistic,
right? To put Game Pass Spencer on for Steam, years. Like it's not going on Steam. Like that everybody's been
Phil Spencer for years is like hinted at that being a possibility, and Matthew Booty was just finally like, that shit's not happening. Yeah. Like, it's impossible.
I've seen a lot of people saying, like, finding stuff that he said in 2016 and 2018, like, business models change. Like, we grow and evolve and adapt, and the gaming world changes. I thought it was very interesting. Like, it's just the when my wife's like, oh, he's got ADHD. Like, Angela watched him talk, and she's like, he's got some problems. Like, she's like, he's very smart. Phil Spencer. She's like, he's very smart, but she's like, he's got some problems. Like she was saying. Yeah. And but at the same time, when he's like, look. He's like, he pretty much said we had a phenomenal lineup of games in 2023, but the industry didn't grow. Like, it didn't grow. And he goes, and we weren't alone in making tough choices of subtracting staff. Like, he talked about it, and he's like, a sustainable business model. Like that's what Microsoft, the board is probably holding him to, is a sustainable business model. And he needs to do what he can to make sure the Xbox brand is sustainable. And that is probably like, okay, let's see what these 4 games do. If they do bad, we won't see any more of it. If they do great, we'll see more of it. Like,
yeah, and that last part you said is important, because I imagine how Game Pass has been pitched at some of these studios that they've acquired is like, hey, you can make smaller experimental type games, but now it's like, but they still need to make money and sell. And the best way for that to happen is to put them out on other platforms, so it's a bigger market for them, so they can continue to take these shots.
Yeah, because they're not seeing, and we've been talking about this, they're not seeing the substantial growth in the services. But the services are continuing to bring in consistent revenue, which is different than declining revenue. Consistent revenue is better than declining revenue. Growing revenue is better than both. But he admitted that they're not growing, and he pretty much kind of said the industry currently isn't growing. It's similar to the console market declining like it has been for the trend for a while. And him talking about it, like, again, like some PR speak, but Sarah Bond was like, we have record numbers of cloud players. We have record numbers of PC players. We have record numbers of console players. Like, the data is there that what they're doing is working. Is it working to the point of where it's moving consoles? Obviously not.
Yeah.
But is that really the true market they're going after? I mean, we've talked about that for a long time. I don't think so. I just think it's a necessary formality for them to make a box.
Well, yeah, but they both, because they also were like, hey, we are making another console.
Yep.
Like, there will always be a console because that's still like the best way to play these games. But in another interview afterwards, I think with The Verge still, he was like, their plan is for every screen to be an Xbox screen.
Mm-hmm.
And what they mean by that is not a physical Xbox made screen. They just mean if you interact with a screen, you should be able to interact with an Xbox
Mm-hmm.
brand thing during that. And that's going to be the only place to actually see growth overall, like as an industry. Because there's still going to be people to buy PS5s, but at a certain point you hit that wall. And 2006 isn't coming around again. Like we're not going to get that like PS2 Wii era of sales anymore. So they can only do so much, which is why they also mentioned mobile. Like they're one of the biggest mobile people
and
now.
Here's the deal. I thought he was very transparent with it. He's like, with our acquisition of ZeniMax, which he's still talking about multiple years later, and our acquisition of Activision Blizzard, King, he's like, we are one of the largest publishers in the gaming industry. He's like, but he's not saying, he didn't come out and say Microsoft or Xbox is the biggest publisher. He said, with all of these things, like he's not naive, and he's not, he's not sitting there like taking, full credit for it. He's realizing, what happened, and he's speaking to it. And I thought he was like, I didn't like the format, but if you just
the format kind of sucked.
Yeah. But what Spencer was saying, I was fascinated by.
I was fascinated by, but also I felt like they had other plans that they wanted to do in the future, and this was just them being like, motherfuckers, you guys took rumors and made fucking completely crazy stories out of them, and now we got to go here unprepared in this 22-minute fucking video
and tell you that Halo's never coming to PlayStation.
Yeah, and tell you everything's going to be okay. Because all of the influencers that love our brand decided to burn their fucking t-shirts and throw out all their
without
games.
hearing from Xbox.
Yeah. Which I can't wait. I need to go on TikTok later and just see those influencers being like, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't think before I did the things that I did.
Because ultimately I was talking in Discord about it a little bit today. Like you're talking about like, oh, they're done making consoles. Yeah. Like in 2036.
Yeah. There's always going to be, the thing I was telling you last week, I can see the point, maybe not next generation, but the generation after, where the console market just turns into a niche thing.
Yeah. I just think, I think a lot of these gamers fear change.
No, they've been fearing change forever.
Yeah.
Like it's part of it. You still have people to this day that swear gaming was never better than when it was every game a fucking side-scrolling platformer for the NES and SNES era.
Right.
You have people that refuse to believe better games were made than in 1990. And like they're just afraid to change. Like that's just how things go.
You can't make Mario 3D, damn it. I need a side scroll.
Yeah. When every fucking game during the NES era was just like insert franchise into side scrolling thing. Yeah. Like people are just freaking out.
So I want to dig into a little bit of the numbers. As much as we heard that there's 43 million PS Plus subscribers, at roughly $80 a year. With a 50. So how many of those 43 million do you think are PS5 subscribers?
PS5?
Or how many of those?
Just PS5 owners?
Yeah. So we know there's 54 million PS5s, right?
I would probably say it's like 2/3 of it, just because
So you're talking about console, close to a 50% attach rate with PS Plus to PS5.
I would say so, just because if you're a PS5 owner, you're probably more connected to online stuff than some PS4 owners.
I agree. Yeah, I would probably say the number is a little higher. And then we heard 34 million Game Pass subscribers with an asterisk that came out later and I guess maybe I don't know enough of this. So before they got rid of Live, Ultimate, or like there was a version of Game Pass that you could buy that didn't have Live, right?
Yeah, and it was the same price as Live.
Right, but it didn't have Live.
Correct.
And then you could buy Live for the same price, but no Game Pass. And now all of Game Pass comes with Live, correct?
Well, there is no... Yeah, it's just whatever's Game Pass basic now is basically Live.
which is Game Pass Core.
Yes, which
is
is just like a
$59
select
for a year.
library of games.
And then I think the cheapest Game Pass model is $10 a month for just console, right? Roughly 10 or 12.
I think so, and I think that
And comes with live.
Yes.
Which it didn't used to. What I'm getting at is that they're saying that there used to be like people are speculating there's a decrease. They lost subs in Game Pass because they turned the Game Pass Core members into Game Pass subscribers.
So you mean there's a decrease in live subscribers because they turned?
No, there's a decrease in Game Pass subscribers because they turned live into Game Pass Core and now said that they had, because I think the last reported number was like 25 million Game Pass subscribers and 7 million live subscribers, and now it's so that would be like 33 million.
Okay.
And so now they're saying 34 million. So
it sounds like they might have kept them and increased 1 mil.
Yeah. So
but that's where it gets like super messy though, because it's just like how many new subscribers do they have and how to correlate that.
I mean, how many growth? I at this point in time, I don't know if you pay $6 or $7 a month for Game Pass Core just to be online, like why wouldn't you pay $10 a month for Game Pass?
I gotta look it up because I think it's only 2 tiers now.
Okay. There's what, Ultimate and Core, that's it?
Yeah, that's it. I believe that's what it is.
Okay. Paul Tassi was running numbers on Twitter about it today. He was talking about like, so they lost subs or something like that, and I don't know all the gist of it back and forth, but it sounds like that they took live subscribers and turned them into Game Pass subscribers to inflate the number.
Yeah, so there's only Core at $10, and that is multiplayer, so live, and 25 rotating Game Pass games.
Okay. I thought there was a Core you could buy for $59 for the year.
It's $9 a month. Because I remember, wasn't there part of the thing is they got rid of the yearly subscriptions?
Okay.
And then there's Ultimate, which is the whole Game Pass library. Right? $16.99.
17 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, ultimately, if you take 34 million times 8 times 12, you get an astronomical number of cash that's coming in. And it's the same thing if you take 43 million times 80, which is what the lowest tier of PS Plus costs, you get another astronomical number, essentially on par with the Game Pass number. Mm-hmm. So Game Pass, what makes close to the same amount of revenue with 9 million less subscribers because it's more expensive.
Yeah.
But it provides better stuff. So it's like chicken before the egg, and anyway, so like those numbers are really, really interesting, because I believe Game Pass works, but I don't think there's a ton of stuff that you can, like, if you have a Game Pass Ultimate subscription and you own an Xbox One, are you okay? Were you able to play Hi-Fi Rush? You weren't able to play Starfield. I don't think you were able to play like Nobody Saves the World or anything, right?
If it actually released on, because
PS4 and Xbox One, right?
Yeah, it's basically that cut off.
So it's a super interesting thing with a lot of these numbers, and just talking about like what it sounds like Spencer's saying is that he's like, we know where we're at. He's like, we kind of know where our dome is, and now we're challenged with making our dome bigger. Mm-hmm. So it was just super interesting with what he was saying. I equate it to, they don't have the ability like other companies do, like other, whether it's retailers or whatever, to be like, oh, like the market is demanding that we open another building 6 miles down the road. Like they don't have the ability to do that. So now that they try, the Walmarts and the Targets and the Best Buys of the world, they know how many people are coming to their location, and now they have to figure out a way to get more money from those people coming to that location, whether it's through loyalty packages, membership packages, tech packages, subscription packages. Like that's what's going on right now. Like every company's doing it, and they're just packaging it a little differently. And the gamers, a certain portion of the gamers, fucking hate it. Mm-hmm. And some of them really love it. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. It's just the direction everything's going is scary to some people. Some people are more accepting. I think you're more accepting of where things are going, and I'm kind of on the fence. Mm-hmm. Of like, I accept the future of where games are going, but I'm also still trying to clean on a little bit to the past. But I the crazy thing is like Xbox has all the data,
Mm-hmm.
and all their data is telling them that this is the direction they need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that, like, when you're talking about like the numbers
Mm-hmm.
for like live and stuff like that, they saw the numbers for live dwindling, and they're like, how can we save some of those live people, because their player base just isn't big on Xbox.
Right.
Like, let's be honest, they shouldn't have a lot of live subscriptions because there are not a lot of Xbox that are been sold the last 2 generations, let alone
Yeah.
them releasing actual content for it. And they're looking at the data and they're like, we can kill live and hopefully get some people onto Game Pass because they won't have a choice, and we can boost those numbers. And then you can look at some of the data they're doing with the stuff. I think they revealed that Final Fantasy 14, it's an MMO that you're paying a monthly subscription for to play. But on Xbox, you will still need a Xbox Live membership or Xbox Game Pass Core membership in order to play that game, because they know that player base would be diehard enough to play on that platform and be accepting of paying an extra fee on top of that, so then they can pull in some of those core members or those members to the Game Pass Core. And they just know where that's going. And PlayStation, I don't know if, Dave, have you been paying attention to PlayStation Plus lately?
To the point where I'm just going to cancel it? Yeah.
No, but so PlayStation Plus, I feel like they have gotten into a rhythm where that middle tier is getting better and better. The premium tier, it seems like every other month they keep going back and forth on whether this premium tier is worth it and not worth it. But it does seem like PlayStation Plus has hit a point where, like, I can see there being some decent growth in PlayStation Plus subscriptions, or there might at least be growth in people moving from that first tier to the second tier.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see more an investment from PlayStation in here, especially when they talk about like they want to increase their services revenue, and there's only so many people you can milk off that player base. So we might see an increase from PlayStation in terms of how they're going to treat their subscription service. And we could get a point where you might see more Xbox published games hitting PlayStation Plus, because business wise it just makes sense.
Yeah, it's super, like, data can be constricted and warped and wrapped in different packages to make it look good in any direction. But we're talking about 55 million PS5s with roughly, let's say 32 million PS Plus subscriptions on PS5. Do you think that's a fair number?
Yeah.
Okay. And now we're talking, and I get it. They're seeing the growth on PC and they're seeing the growth on cloud. Everything I can see by doing some quick Googling is that maybe Xbox Series consoles have sold 22 million, maybe, with 34 million Game Pass subscribers. So, like, the data is showing that Microsoft is correct in they have roughly 12 or 13 million other users that aren't playing on the boxes.
Yeah.
Whether it's PC, whether it's cloud, whatever tablet, whatever the hell it is, it ain't on a box.
Yeah.
Sure, you can you can even cut the number in half, let's say between Series X and S, and throw Xbox One in there, which I don't really think there's really much you can play on there. I don't know. But let's throw another 5 million in there. So you're at 27 million, but you're still at 34 million subscribers. Like,
yeah.
So it, I don't have the answer for you other than a console box is a necessary evil that some people will use, but not everybody has to use.
So there's an interesting thing that was said either during the podcast or during the post interviews, where they said like they're going to have hardware announcements by this holiday, by the end of the year. And they also said like the next generation is going to be a huge technical achievement, and like it's going to be cutting edge tech. And it made me realize that like the reason they might be willing to go fucking all out on a console market that doesn't really have much growth is because they realize the people that are still buying consoles will probably buy some crazy expensive thing because they either love the brand, or two, they just want like shiny new technology. And Xbox can work for both sides in terms of, hey, we can put out a super expensive box because we know the dedicated fans will buy that box no matter how expensive it is. And for the people that I think it's too expensive, here's a Fire Stick equivalent you can buy super cheap, and then you can just stream cutting edge technology onto your TV. Or hey, you're a PC player, so you already have cutting edge technology in your PC, so here you go. And they can keep that hardware market alive and go for like crazy high performance, because for the most part their players are going to be interacting either on PC or through streaming, where the hardware won't matter because you're streaming that like that powerful technology, the horsepower. So like Xbox doubling down on being like, you know what, we are going to have like crazy hardware coming, and also it's coming fucking soon. And we won't have to be in the thing where we're looking at a console and being like, oh, it's about year 5, so we're halfway through this console generation. Like we need to start worrying. Or like, you get to year 8 or year 10 in a console and you're like worried about what's going to happen next. Xbox could just potentially just be like, yeah, every couple years we're just going to release something fucking new for the hardcore people, and for those interacting through streaming or PC, it doesn't matter. Like that we release like some crazy new technology, like you're fine, you're going to be covered. Our data centers are going to have the updated graphics, it's no big deal. And then if you want an Xbox whatever the fuck in your house, you're hardcore enough that you're going to be okay with like a $600 machine. Because you're bought in. And then if you look at PlayStation, on the other hand, their next console, they're going to have to be like they were with the PS5 of like, we're going to do some new technology, it's going to be cool, but we can't go crazy because it's going to be too expensive, and then our casual market's not going to want to buy in on it.
I agree. It'll be interesting to see the next approach on the consoles, because like even PlayStation giving you the option to add a disc drive later on their current consoles, setting the standard for their next one.
But you also know like that was them trying to cut funds in some way of just like, hey, we got to make the entry level as low as possible, though they didn't do it for this one. But
at the time I bought it because it was $100 cheaper.
Yeah.
Do I regret it? Sometimes. But if there's a PlayStation exclusive game that I can only play on PS5 that I really want, I'm gonna buy it digitally anyways, because I'm too lazy to change the disc now, and I don't want to keep track of it. So I'm just being honest.
No. I mean,
then if there's
Switch games that you can't even find.
Yep. Anymore, and then if there's a game that Helldivers was cheaper through CD keys. I bought it on PC. It's got crossplay and cross progression. It's got crossplay support, and Discord chat works.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. And the cherry on top of it is that I have me personally, I have a portable PC. So I can play it on both. It just makes sense. Sure, I paid like $500 for my ROG, or $550 or whatever it was, but I'm trying to get more out of it. So that's kind of like where we're at with like playing and watching. So I mean, I think we've kind of we this is good. Yeah. So I played a little bit of Skull and Bones. Ubisoft was nice enough to send us some codes that we were able to distribute to some community members, as well as us. Got a chance to play a little bit of it. I did download it on PC, and so that and as well as Helldivers. And Helldivers is just a hell of a lot of fun, pun intended, with even with the bugs, pun intended. Matchmaking is rough.
Well, not bugs. It's server stress seems to be the problem.
Yeah, so they increase server counts. Arrowhead, the CEO, has been like an amazing Twitter follow the last 10 days.
Reminds me of Baldur's Gate. Remember when Baldur's Gate was blowing up the internet, and they were just like, engineers are working through the weekend because we weren't expecting this.
They up server capacity, and they announced that they up server capacity, and the player base maxes it out again. Going from a top-down asymmetrical shooter to a third-person shooter it doesn't do anything graphically amazing.
I don't know, the audio design stuff I've seen in some of the cinematography, if you want to call it that, looks pretty damn.
Yeah, I was just gameplay wise, like stuff goes boom. The bugs all look the same. The robots look the same. But the environments look cool. But like they're kind of environments that I'm used to. Just the random shit that can go on in this game just makes it hilarious. Like friendly fire's on. Your teammates make noises and yell at you if you shoot them.
I love watching the community figure out different ways of communication because not everyone's like mic'd up.
Yep, and it has the emote ability, and you have to throw like your it's Stranums. I think I'm gonna get them wrong, but like there's this D-pad code like up, down, left, right, up, up, up that you have to do to bring somebody back or to bring an orbital strike down. You kind of have to call it out because if you put an orbital strike and your buddy's in there trying to get samples or kill something, like you're gonna kill him. And you can get overran. It's got different difficulty levels. You get rewarded for doing higher difficulty levels. It's got season passes where you earn stuff through XP and through medals for doing the objectives and playing stuff, and you can earn everything. And they don't put anything away. So far, they've said that they haven't put anything away, and it's just kind of one of these things where you like similar to like Baldur's Gate, where you look back and you're like, why can't everybody else do this?
Yeah, no, it definitely seems like it. And they've been doing a good PR thing of this, talking about like respecting players and being like, you have to earn monetization. And it seems like they did everything to where I think they kind of answered your questions of just like longevity wise, can this game last more than a couple weeks? And
I mean, yes, and because they're dealing with community, they're dealing with you're doing something collectively as a group.
Yeah,
and it's working. You're there's different individual things that you can earn. It matters if you die, but it doesn't matter. Like like I said, they've had a couple of the disconnect issues where some people have lost some progression, or you complete something and the servers are a little wonky, so you've lost some stuff. But overall, like I just like I'm very, very, very impressed with and let's call it what it is. A spade is a spade. It's a $40 game, and it's great. It's phenomenal, and it's a lot of fun to play, and you can have somebody join in, like Michael. If you decide to buy it like this weekend and you group up with me or something like that, you won't feel dramatically behind. We can help you, and you can earn some XP stuff really quick. And then on the other side of the coin, similar to what Josh Kreese just asked me of like Skull and Bones impressions, I don't really have very much impressions of it because I'd rather play Helldivers right now.
Skull and Bones really fucked up with their thing, with their release cycle. Yeah, I'm gonna play Skull and Bones this weekend a little bit, but
I mean, I've gone through some of the tutorial stuff. It looks cool. It doesn't really do a great job of telling you what to do, and there is some more off-ship stuff. And but it just on the surface, it looks like a lot of fetch quest stuff. I really want to get to the point where I get like a 3 or 4 man crew together on a boat and see what that feels like with all of us in voice chat. So that's but I don't even know if I got far enough to where it said I can turn matchmaking on yet. I see other players.
I played the beta, which release was last weekend, and the beta did not do a good enough impression for me to be like, yeah, I want to get this game. Luckily, we did get codes for it, and I will give the game a second shot this weekend. But it was definitely one of those things where early on, at least during that beta, I was just doing a lot of like, find this item, go on an island. It felt clunky for some reason, like being like on land, despite Ubisoft being primarily what they do is third-person games. And then it just like the later stuff that we played at E3 was more interesting, fascinating than the build up to that point.
Well, the build that I played at E3 years ago had different classifications of ships. Like,
which I think we will get there eventually in this game.
Because there was like a tank ship, and there was a quick ship, and there was like like a gunner ship and a snipe and a distance ship, and like it was like interesting. I was like, okay, like for me, like at the time of playing some other stuff that was kind of more class dependent, I was like, okay, this is really cool. Like I have a ship that I can, we could, I could run this ship, Michael can run this ship, Josh can run this ship, and we could be a team in a fortified thing. And now, super early on, it looks like I think people are on the ship with you.
Yeah, I hope we get to the point where we saw the cool shit.
Yeah.
And played some of that cool shit.
But I don't want that to be behind a 15-hour gate.
No, and that's the problem I have. It's just like I am probably picking up Helldivers this weekend, but I'm going to give Skull and Bones another shot. And like I almost feel like I can't pick up Helldivers until I give Skull and Bones like full.
Thankfully, it's on PC, and I'm taking my ROG with me to San Diego for like in the evenings of downtime. Angela's got homework or reading to do, or we're kind of just chilling and we're tired, But that's what I spent some time this week messing with. I picked up a new plug for my ROG Ally, the official ROG plug that has an HDMI port in it and a USB port in it, and I plug it into my Surge bar, and I plug the HDMI cord into it, and I plug the USB into it, and it just plays it on the TV. And then I started messing and tinkering a little bit more with it because I really have only been using it as a handheld. and I was kind of forgetting, like, I can hook an Xbox controller or a Bluetooth controller to this.
Yeah.
I can hook wireless headphones to this. Like, this is a full-fledged Windows, and I forget this. This is a full-fledged Windows PC. So, and so I have a pair of my wireless Turtle Beaches that I've Bluetooth connected to it, an Xbox controller that I Bluetooth connected to it, and I have this stuff. I'm taking it on the flight with me. I'm gonna play on. I'm not gonna be able to play Helldivers or Sea of Thieves on the flight, but I'm gonna be able to play
Skull and Bones.
Sea of Thieves, Skull and Bones. Can you play Skull and Bones offline?
I think you can play it as a single player. You're just gonna be missing some stuff.
Okay, I don't know. I haven't tried because I'm at home and it always just connects. So I'll have to see. I have some other games. I can, some Batman games and some other stuff. Ultros or Ulfos came out this week. I still need to pick that up. It's like a Metroidvania style game that very art stylish, very garden art style stuff. So I think I'm saying that name wrong, but there's a ton of opportunity to mess around with that and to
doesn't work offline. Never mind.
Okay. So
it has single player, but you need to be online for it.
Yeah, it's a Ubisoft game. I expected that. So, but I'm really hoping to see how it goes, because I will say, like, I wouldn't mind being on the plane, propping my ROG Ally up in the case that I bought for it, and connecting my Bluetooth controller to it and playing that way versus holding the ROG sometimes, because that can get it's not heavy, but it's not light, So I'll be really interested to see how that stuff holds up and plays and works and how well it does over like Airbnb Wi-Fi, So I would love to, have some fun with some people. But again, just make sure you join our Discord. We've got a very lively currently very lively Helldivers channel in there. We've had some Suicide Squad conversation going on in there. We'll have some Skull and Bones conversation going on in there as some people playing the game. As well as just general chat, like collection stuff going on, and just conversation, talking about some of the Xbox events today. So, please be sure to check out the Discord, join the Discord. If you're in Facebook, on our Facebook group, within the last week or so, I posted the Discord link in there. We can post it on Twitter. I'm a little hesitant to post it on Twitter just because it's easier to find.
I think we want to put it on Twitter, yeah.
So tweet at me, or at myself, Good Dave Hunt, at Michael, at the first.
We haven't had to ban people from our Discord, and I don't want to put that out on Twitter.
Yeah, so I agree. I was like, as I said it, I'm like, probably not. But just let us know, and then I can obviously send you a link, and you can kind of group up. I've been assigning roles to people so that you can tag them in a game. So if you don't play Helldivers, you won't be annoyed with like at everyone tags. Like I think I've done that twice in the last year of an at everyone on Discord. So be sure to check that out. So, but what else have you been playing?
For me, it's just been the Ace Attorney game. We solved the first 2 cases, onto the third one. I think in this one it's 5 cases per game, and there's 3 games total, so it's going to be a lot of Ace Attorney over the next couple weeks. I did Skull and Bones beta, like I mentioned, but that wasn't like a ton of time into it. Just enough time for me to get bored. But I don't know what they were thinking with that beta, because it was a week out. It doesn't seem like it's enough time for them to fix anything, even get server capacity, especially with Helldivers coming out. Like, I don't think I feel like the beta wasn't even advertised enough for them to really stress test their servers. So I'm not too sure if that was just like a marketing agreement that they already had, with partners, that they had to release an open beta. So it was just mostly those 2 things. I've fallen down the Whatnot rabbit hole again, Dave. I don't know if you remember when I got distracted by that. Whatnot is that it's like eBay meets Twitch, where people are doing live auctions of like collectibles and shit.
Oh, geez.
So I've been watching a lot of that stuff for video games, which is dangerous as fuck for me. So I've been, continuing my PS3 video game hunting. I did pick up another PS3 game, another one of my like grails, because the PS3 like market is kind of calmed down price wise. So a lot of things that were like $100 a year ago is that halved now. So I ended up picking up something stupid that Dave will laugh at me, but PlayStation Network Volume 1.
Okay.
That's the one that has on disc Tokyo Jungle, Vikings, Attack of the Vikings or whatever, and Fat Princess, and then another game. That one was going for a lot of money because it's like the only way to get like Tokyo Jungle on a physical disc.
Mm-hmm.
But I got it super cheap because like no one's really hunting for PS3 stuff right now. Which again, the PS3 apocalypse is coming, people. So if you care about PS3 stuff, like from the PlayStation Store, if you can find a physical copy, get that shit now before it's too expensive. And then in a couple of years, you're regretting not being able to access some of that content because that PS3 apocalypse is coming. I still think we're going to get that announcement this year that the PS3 store is officially closing. So warning people now. So I'm not telling everyone in 6 months like you should have bought some fucking disc-based games for the PS3. So yeah, I'm just still hunting PS3
doesn't
stuff.
even read discs. If I even know where it is.
I was gonna say I have 2 PS3s and they both work. One's a backwards compatible fat, and then I have a slim that I use pretty consistently. So yeah, just me warning people: the PS3 apocalypse is coming. So prepare yourself. I think I'm done with all my like grails for PS3. Like all the most expensive games that I wanted, I got at really good deals. So I'm done with the expensive stuff. Now I'm just trying to get like the stupid small games.
Have you alphabetized your collection yet?
Oh my god, there's an app.
No, like on your shelf.
Of course. Like what else would I like? The only problem is I need a bigger shelf because right now my shelf's overflowing, but I'm waiting to move before getting proper shelving. But yeah, just now I'm just hunting for the stupid games, the games that like I shouldn't own because they're bad, but there's a lot of interesting stuff on the PS3 in that like cheap market.
Right.
So yeah, just still doing that. But I think I'll be done collecting for a while because I got like the big game that I was looking for. I think I say I'm done collecting for a while every couple months.
And then you'll see something else show up.
Yeah, like I'm still always looking, but like I wait for big deals.
Does your neighborhood? I mean, I think I've been in your neighborhood like once, and I don't even think it's your current neighborhood anymore.
No.
Do you like as the weather gets warm? Do they do garage sales? Do they do yard sales?
Oh yeah,
like,
there's a ton of stuff.
Are you gonna go like walking around on a Sunday and just see what you randomly see with like $80 in your pocket?
I always do. It depends. Like my neighborhood now is a little bit better for that stuff, though I haven't seen a lot of games in the last year or so. My other neighborhood was too bougie, and most people overpriced their shit for garage sales. Because the thing I grew up in is most things at a garage sale is like $1 to $5.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of times in my old neighborhood where people would do garage sales and they would just literally just mark things MSRP. and you'd just be like, you're insane. I'm in a better neighborhood where people aren't doing that stuff. I just haven't really found any games. But I am constantly looking for like Game Boys and like handheld stuff because that stuff seems to be the most like throwaway for some people than this space stuff. But I need room for all that stupid shit, and I don't currently have all the room that I need for that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing. I'll be posting in the next couple days in our collection Discord channel all the random stuff that I bought.
It's still in shrink wrap. It won't get opened. Actually, that stuff's
well,
not
unless
shrink
it's
wrap,
used.
so,
Yeah. Though I did buy some shrink wrap PS3 games because Amazon put random games up shrink like brand new recently.
So Amazon repackaged them and shrink wrapped them themselves. Got it. Okay.
No, I think Konami and Capcom were just like, oh fuck, we have a warehouse full of some of this shit.
Hey boss, we moved to Pallet and found a box of games. Like,
you'll be surprised how many times that seems to happen to some of these publishers. It's kind of crazy.
All right, so I think that is our show for this week. For next week, we don't have an answer. So Michael might do a solo show. Maybe
might have a guest.
Yeah, maybe Josh Langford will just randomly appear. I don't know. We haven't reached out to him at all. Sometimes he listens, and if he does listen, he's probably behind. So he'll probably text us like in 2 weeks, like, "Hey, I'll come on." I'm like, okay, I'm already back.
Yeah. I think last time you weren't going to be on. Like I mentioned reaching out to Josh, and then he reached out to me of just like, when are you gonna text me? And I was just like, oh yeah.
So we'll see how up to date he is. Mr. Langford is on the podcast. To be fair, he only has like 3 days because today is Thursday.
Yeah, and it's either that or I take the week off. Yeah. I don't know.
I think a lot of it sounds like just talking to him might be news dependent. If some big story or 2 or 3 things come out, I'm sure.
Or if I really get into Helldivers.
Yeah, Michael will jump on. He can probably grab a friend or 2 of his. The cool thing about Discord is it's very easy. So, to do this, there's no like massive setup or anything like that. Another reason for you to
it just wouldn't be live on Twitch or YouTube.
Slacker. So
I don't feel like that.
it's
Yeah.
not accuracy. Like,
Yeah.
I will be on vacation. I will be in San Diego. If for some reason anybody listens to this that lives in San Diego and you want to grab a beer, just message me or something. But I think that's a bit of a long shot. So who knows?
When you get there at your hotel, type in used video games into Google Maps, see how close the store is to you.
Yeah, and then like you know that means I'll actually have to call you probably, and then put
Oh,
you.
fuck no. Don't never call me, Dave.
I know,
Like, I swear to God.
but I
if
might
you
have to like
ever
take a
call
picture
me-
of it. Like, do you want this? Like, I don't know what I'm looking for.
Yeah. No. Just you Discord me.
I'll call you on Discord.
Yeah, that's slightly reasonable, I guess. Yeah. But don't ever call my number. I don't even know. Do you have my number?
I don't think so anymore. Not your new one.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
because I just all of our communications through Discord. So.
Yeah. We just moved all that to Discord.
But yeah, I'll be on vacation. So midwinter break in Metro Detroit area. They get a whole week off of school in February. So with it's our first kid-free vacation since '05. So yeah. So we're gonna check out some stuff there. The only thing that sucks about going to San Diego in February is I can't go to a Padres game, but that's all right. So it gives me another reason to go back in a year or a couple years. So, like we mentioned earlier, our main feed on Twitter is at Digital Days Pod. Michael's is at the first MJC. Mine is at Good Dave Hunt. Our Facebook group is there, but like the priority is the Discord server. So if you want to be part of the community, I think the best route for you to take is in Discord. Don't be afraid. It's very easy to use.
You don't have to talk.
Yeah. I'm in there daily, if not multiple times a day. So if somebody new joins, I might tag you or message you just to see like kind of what you're expecting or what you want. And if you just want to,
it's literally Dave being like, "Who are you? What does your screen name mean?"
I haven't asked that.
No, I
Yeah.
I just imagine you just trying to decipher like, I can't recognize them based off their picture. Their
No, I
name's
don't-
not familiar.
I don't
but
really.
Do
Yeah,
I know them?
for the most part, I don't care. So
Yeah.
like it's like, as long as you just don't go in there and come try to run amok or be an ass, then I'll just kick you right out.
Yeah, zero tolerance for that. Even
Yeah.
if we were good with the person,
Yeah.
it would be one of those situations where it's just like, yeah, I got rid of him, and I'd be
Yeah,
like,
if like
fair.
Johnny is a boy in Twitch has been running his mouth about like mag games and stuff like that. If he does that in Discord, I'll kick him out. I've known Johnny for
and
like
then
12 years. I'll kick him out.
I will make him a mod if he wants to talk about PS3 classics like Mag.
I will only allow him to speak in some random channel that I'll mute.
Okay, so the collection channel basically.
I look in there.
Oh, okay. Look at
Yeah.
you.
I see you
You never
posting
post
pictures.
your
in there.
collection stuff.
What collection stuff?
I don't know. Fucking what do you collect in
shoes?
Michigan?
My gym shoes?
Yeah, there you go.
That I didn't get my Jordan 4s that I paid for and they didn't ship.
My Soras haven't shipped yet. I have 4
Oh.
of them coming, and they're supposed to be out tomorrow.
So, jeez.
I'm gonna post 4 Soras kissing in the collection. I'm gonna make all the Soras that I bought kiss.
All right.
And I bought a Banjo Kazooie and a Terry, so
Now he's just
it's gonna
saying.
be a
Now he's just saying random shit.
yeah. So I bought all of those. So all 6 of those characters are just gonna be kissing on the collection in our Discord. So
My gym shoe collection and my hat collection has been growing over the last 6 or 8 months. So, with Lions hats and Tigers hats and spring training hats. And all that stuff.
snapback, fitted. What do you do?
Snapbacks. I can't do fitteds anymore.
Okay.
Like I just can't. They take too long to break in.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I don't really wear them backwards anymore. So, so Patreon is patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming. Check it out there if you're supporting us already. We really appreciate you. Discord server, like we mentioned, Facebook group is all linked in the show notes, or tweet at us and we can get you connected there. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for watching on Twitch. Thank you for commenting and just being part of the community. And I hope everyone has a great week and keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya. There you go. I'm gonna have on the podcast next week my amiibos. You're just gonna hear Angela be like, "Did you hear the latest episode? I think Michael snapped."
She'll take her. I don't know if she's been editing down here, so you might have to edit that yourself.
No, I
Yeah.
was not gonna ask Angela. to edit.
It
I'm
takes
just
her-
saying
it
she would
doesn't take
probably
her very
be the
long to
one
edit.
to listen to the podcast. Like you would probably be like, "Yeah, I didn't listen last week," but Angela would be like, "Yeah, I listened to it. He went crazy."
Yeah, that's fine. If you get some more listeners, I'm game. Do what you got to do.
Yeah. Okay, good to hear.
kept a whole bunch of you hanging out here today, huh? So, Josh, Curry, Johnny, Tyler was here. Bunch of randomness. Everybody's putting this on in the background while they're playing Helldivers and yelling like for democracy. So, the characters yelled that out, man. Like, for liberty.
Sounds like it has like Earth Defense Force vibes.
Oh
to it.
no, it's Starship Troopers 100%. The guy, the game director loves Starship Troopers, and that's exactly what it is. Like, so, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching on Twitch and YouTube, and just in general hanging out and listening, and we appreciate it. We will talk to y'all later.